All right, I'm going to call this street committee meeting to order, July 24th, 2017, 5 p.m. Let's do a roll call real quick.
Walther?
Here.
Carter? Here. Picken?
Here.
Do a pledge. Yeah, we'll start it. Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, well, we've got 45 minutes before the next meeting starts, so we've got to kind of move it in high gear here, I guess. Alan, I know we had talked about this being a meeting that we were going to focus a lot on the Oak Meadow reconstruction design. Do you have an update for us?
Yes, and Oak Meadow will probably take most of the time. A lot of the other stuff shouldn't take too much time. So the questions we had on Oak Meadow start out with open ditches versus pipe on the west side of the road. We took a look at that one, and if we put ditches there, we'd have a few potential problems. One, the ditches would need to be deeper than they are, which would not be necessarily a good PR move. The pipes that are out there in the driveways now, a lot of them are humped up in the driveways, so we'd have to move that down to get that to be effective. The other part of that, it would be difficult to stay in the right-of-way with deeper ditches. We would have to have softer slopes, so that would push back outside, potentially of the right-of-way, so we'd need some work agreements or some easements and potentially right-of-way to make that, to be able to maintain that in the future. The pipe side, that would be a good PR move from the aspect of we'd get rid of all the drive culverts. It would just be a pipe system. The other bad thing about the pipe for the driveway culverts is we have a good amount of money just replacing all those culverts. So by the time we spend that money just adding the pipe between the driveways, it would be a little bit more, but not substantially from what we were seeing. So piping it in would be a good PR, a little bit more cost, but that also wouldn't require easements or additional right-of-way, and we'd be able to slope that a lot better from the the public relations standpoint. Any question, comment on that one? So it looks like it'd be better to stay with the pipes from what we're seeing.
Yep, go ahead, Tim.
If you want to talk to
Well, I was going to take a step back just for a moment. We've talked about some of the offsite, what I consider to be offsite storm. Mm-hmm. Is that included in this estimate?
The estimate that you're looking at, yeah, we broke it out into 5 different categories here. And the first one is part 1 is the 18-inch storm sewer run Hickory.
Okay, so that's the offsite storm.
That's the offsite, just to get water from Oak Meadow to the river.
Okay.
Second part is just the putting 12-inch storm on Oak Meadow Drive. These numbers are early, and I think they're probably a little bit high, but that's where we want to be, I think, at this stage in the game. Part 3 is just simply an overlay of Oak Meadow Drive for just a mill and fill of the asphalt. Part 4 and 5, so we got 4A and 4B, which is sidewalk versus multi-purpose path. And I was going to get into more of the detail on that once we get down to that item. A couple things to keep in mind on this cost estimate. Well, I guess that depends on how we want to break it up or if we want to break it up as to things to consider, I guess. So I'd kind of like to get through the rest of it, and then we can see how we want to break this out.
Okay. Tim?
My question, you said it looked like it was going to be slightly more. What is slightly more?
I don't have that answer. We didn't put it as straight dollars. I haven't evaluated as dollars to dollars for pipe versus putting driveway culverts and grading in. We did not break it out.
And to be clear, if you put the pipe in, you will connect it to the existing pipes underneath the driveways?
If we put the pipe in, we would do away with all the drive pipes. We would have storm drains, basically yard inlets, a catch basin at least every 400 feet, but between each driveway there would be an inlet to the system. Probably just like a 12-inch with a cap on it.
Are we then taking the pipes out, or is that up to the homeowners?
The drive culverts would be taken out. We would probably align the sewer with those drive culverts. So we would just
Makes sense.
trench right along that area, put the pipe, and then redo the driveways as we went through. So either way, we're gonna have to redo the driveways, because if we put the ditches in, they'd have to be deeper, and we'd have to redo the culverts. Or we put the pipe in, pull all the culverts out,
Okay.
and then do some grading.
In this, I noticed you don't have any utility relocation. Did we get the water line and the other possible utilities, above-ground utilities resolved?
If we go with the pipe, the problem was the water line on the east side towards the north end. If we go with the storm sewer through there, it won't be a problem. The problem would have been where the water line was if we had enough cover left after we dug a ditch in. But if we do a storm sewer, we should be able to maintain clearance and not affect the cover on that pipe.
This doesn't take, this takes only pipe into consideration, correct?
The cost estimate?
Right, correct.
Yes,
It's not there's no ditch evaluation here.
correct.
Okay. And then also with the pipe, no utility conflicts, such as poles, gas lines, do we know anything more about, do we have any utility conflicts?
We didn't go so far as to do OOPS at this point, or did we? So we did that for original survey. Yeah, there's no conflicts then.
Okay. Is this sidewalk on one side or both sides?
This is sidewalk on one side.
One side sidewalk, okay. And with the, and I'm just going to throw a couple different questions I've got on this. And with the overlay, is this getting any kind of widening done on the roadway, or is this, we had talked about the pluses and minuses of having a ditch, non-ditch section. Non-ditch section, you can widen the road a little bit more. You've got some more room to breathe, essentially. Ditch section, we were limited and basically contained, trying to get a ditch section in there and easements and so forth. Does this contemplate, with pipe, does this contemplate any widening of this current section?
We went back through the original estimate, and I don't know if I think I provided that in the past. It's from May 4th, and we broke out the specific items for widening, and the widening cost was plus or minus $120,000. So this does not include that. We thought that with the price tag that we're already looking at, that would not, well, it'd be an adder for sure.
We'd also talked about some widening of just berm, not necessarily pavement section.
Yeah, I know we talked about the berm. I think that's a good idea. I don't think we captured that in this estimate. I may not have relayed that to Jobs to put that in there for this one.
Any idea, Mr. Haynes, what a berm widening might run?
Let me think on that for a second, if I can give you a good answer on that or not. Off the top of my head,
No.
It'd be a lot cheaper than widening the road. That much I can tell you.
That's a good answer.
Thank you.
And it's pretty easy. You're just doing it where the current ditch is. I mean, it's relatively inexpensive and easy to do. So, yeah.
Because I know I personally was on part of the issue there is the width of that road, and I think perhaps you came back to us and said, yeah, but we measured it and it's within the framework of the law, kind of a thing. But just given the fact that who knows who might be walking or riding a bike up there. I don't know if the bike trail we'll talk about that in a second, but any extra space you can get there, for me anyway, is better, as long as we're not.
And I definitely like the idea of the berm. Adding pavement out there might increase the speed of traffic when it is wide enough to allow traffic that needs to be on there to go through.
Melissa, do you have any questions or anything? Okay, I got a couple more then. On your multi-use path,
Yes.
I notice you have basically 3 inches on dirt. Looks like I don't see any subgrade. I don't see any 301. in here. Just a suggestion would be to put that on gravel. I don't think you need 3 inches of asphalt. I think you can get away with 2 inches of asphalt on 6 inches of gravel.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
a
we have
suggestion.
Subgrade compaction, but I see, I don't see any,
I don't see in 301.
say
I mean,
304.
304, I'm sorry, 304. So just, that might throw your numbers off a hair to your comparison between sidewalk and asphalt path. Although you can cut 25% of your asphalt out if you go to a 2-inch. Typical paths that I install, or that I've seen installed, are 2-inch single lift. That's it,
Okay.
on 6 inches of gravel, compacted gravel,
Okay.
so.
On that same topic, we looked at that, and with the sidewalk, just looking at sidewalk versus bike path, we can get a sidewalk in relatively easily and stay within the easement or within the right-of-way without any problem. There are a couple areas, even with the sidewalk, where we would need to have some retaining walls, just because there's a hill there, and to get the slope to work out, it would probably be a small retaining wall, but there's an area, at least one, we'd have to have a retaining wall with the sidewalk. With the asphalt path, that gets obviously wider, so the retaining wall might have to be bigger, and it might need more easement. So we didn't vet that out too much. We looked at that, and from that aspect, a sidewalk would be easier to get.
Is the existing ditch in right-of-way or in an easement?
I believe it's in the right of way.
Okay, or when you're thinking about your section, how far is your path off of the edge of pavement? Could you not install the path literally where the ditch is now?
That would probably be where the storm sewer would be going. Where the
That's
ditch is
okay.
now.
You can put storm sewer underneath your path.
I don't know that we looked at that specifically. And that's, we still need to put yard drains in. And
Yeah.
I anticipated putting those right on top of the pipe. I suppose you could offset them.
Yeah, just put them in the path. I mean, okay, we can talk about that offline. I'm trying to just come up with some ideas to fit it in if you needed to.
Okay.
If you're already putting gravel down, for a path, your backfill on your storm sewer is not gonna matter. It's gonna be gravel anyhow. So anyhow, just some thoughts. This is, any other questions on this, Tim, or?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Can you refresh my memory as to what the original budgeted amount was?
We had built in, which, into the perspective, I guess, 2018 budget, $450,000.
For construction.
For construction.
It was 50,000 for engineering, correct?
But,
This is 2017.
Which was in this year's budget,
right,
50,000.
but this doesn't have any of that 50 out of it, right?
No.
So we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $130,000 to $150,000 more.
Well, you're not gonna,
450 versus 671.
Right.
yeah.
I'm
say
sorry,
It's
that's more than that.
700,000. I
Thank
was
you.
gonna say
Sorry.
it's probably a 250 number.
And there was one other thing that I'd thrown out previously that I kind of wanted to rescind, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about maybe a potential ways that I've thought about breaking this up. So we talked about doing some of the work in-house. The more I've thought about that, the less I like that idea. Our guys are pretty good at what they do, but when it comes to dealing with grading in yards and restoration of asphalt and concrete driveways, seems like it'd be better to hire that out, people that have the expertise and the equipment on hand to do that, and also from a liability standpoint, if there's a problem, sure, we could go back and fix it, but if we had a contractor, we can, hold them to that per any plans and specs that we had.
Do you know what the cost difference would be? I mean, how much were we planning to do in-house that would save money?
We were looking at potentially doing the in-house on Hickory Street, doing the sewer along there. We would be able to, the cost of the pipe, the cost of the materials would be our cost, plus any, I guess you'd factor in man hours, would be doing other things. It would definitely be cheaper when you look at it just from straight materials cost for us to do it.
This would, in the long run, probably save us if there were to be any problems with what was installed or how it was installed. It would go right back to the contractor.
If you could, Alan, refresh my memory on the Hickory Street storm. Does that obviously will drain Hickory Street also?
Yes.
But is it deep enough to tie anything else into, or is this just going to service essentially Hickory Street and Oak Meadow?
We'd only looked at it to be able to serve Oak Meadow and Hickory. We do have enough fall from the furthest point on Oak Meadow, going down Hickory to the creek, to the river, to get that in. I don't know that I had not looked beyond it to see if there's other areas that need to be drained. I don't think in this vicinity there is, because to the north, that all is newer subdivision, and that all drains. And to the west is the settlement, and that's a newer subdivision, and I believe that all drains adequately as well.
I guess I was thinking more of north and south of Hickory Street in this subdivision. Are there any other areas that would need to be tied into this? So this is going to be almost like a trunk line coming down Hickory Street.
I think once we get Oak Meadow from all the way, to the newer subdivision from Broad Street, we can accommodate all that in this Hickory Street. Am I answering the question, or is there more that I'm not seeing?
Oh,
There are, if I can just chime in,
Go right
there are other similar roads running east and west of Hickory, and I forget the names of them, but those are already have their drainage system and going to the creek, if I remember correctly. So what this is doing is to get the water from Oak Meadow to the creek, which is where we need to go. That's the reason Hickory is involved in this, not necessarily to address the drainage on Hickory Street.
Correct. Now, the Hickory, the southeast corner of Hickory and Oak Meadow does not drain very well as it is, so that would certainly help out the western part of Hickory Drive. We would leave the north side of Hickory as it is. It's a ditch, and it flows fine. The one on the south side doesn't do that well, so that made more sense to put the storm sewer there.
Will it pick up individual drainage spots along there, or is it just a conduit?
It would be the same as if piping in on Oak Meadow, where we would have some yard drains come up in between each driveway. And then the idea is, looking at this, kind of if we could break it up, that might make it more palatable. And my thoughts on that, at least, I wanted to throw out were if we treated this as 2 to 3 separate projects. One project being all the storm sewer. Look at that, and that's right around that $450,000 number. What that wouldn't include is any pavement repair. We were trying to do that separate from the paving. But my thought, at least I'm throwing out, is do that as one project. The overlay of Oak Meadow, potentially do that the following year as part of the ramp. And that would be a normal ramp number, just do a mill and fill on that after so potentially do storm sewer next year, do the paving as part of the ramp in the following year, and then for the sidewalk / bike path, design for it to be in there, and then decide when we want to do that, potentially using fee in lieu of funds from other developments that don't require to put a sidewalk in, but they're giving us money to put sidewalks in where we need them. Just ideas I wanted to throw out there. Not married to them.
Lot to chew on.
Agreed.
It's not really a question. I would just comment, when you're looking at aside from just the cost savings between a sidewalk and the multi-use path, I think the multi-use path is just a better option. I mean, if you already have, widening issues and traffic, that would take bicycles and kids off the street on their bikes and hopefully onto the path. Now, if we were to put that bike path into, to use the fee in lieu of funds, but we were to put the storm drain system right underneath it, would we then just kind of fill it in and come back and do the path later? Or would it be cheaper to do it all at the same time?
Probably be more efficient to do it all at the same time. And I guess if we have the fee in lieu of funds, there's no reason we couldn't do them at the same time if that's what the direction we decided to go.
Is this an 8-foot path or a 10-foot path in
I
your
believe this is an
estimates?
8-foot.
8 foot, okay.
What is our next step?
Making some decisions on where we want to go. Is there specific things that we need to look at before the next meeting? Or do we just want to take a little time to digest this and make a decision later where we want to go? I can definitely get the cost for the 12-inch berm, see what that is, get that in here.
I guess. Okay. I'm gonna ask the question, which is, if we, as we mull this over before we come back and talk about it, assume, which is what I kind of heard you just say, originally that work was planned for next year's ramp. Is that correct?
Separate
Next
from the
year's ramp, it was a separate item.
Or
It wasn't in the ramp.
That's what I want to make sure of. It is a separate item. Would you then, if it was broken, you talked about ramp-like numbers and paving it, right, as part of the ramp itself, and it would just take the place of something that would have occurred that year?
True.
And the 450 would then be less. I'm sorry, the original estimate for the standalone project would happen, but can I assume, since the paving is now removed from that, would it still be a 450 project? I mean, I could do the math. I wasn't sure if you.
It would be pretty close if you look at just the storm sewer. It would be right around the 450 number, and I don't think that was we didn't arrive at that number from design. We arrived at that number. Here's what we think we're willing to spend, if I remember correct.
Well, there's two ways to look at this too. You can certainly break it up 2 different years and say, hey, we're going to do a standalone project in 18 as the drainage and come back in 19 as a ramp project. But this now 450 is a standalone project in the 18 budget. So you could certainly say, hey, we just want to get it all done in 18 and remove some of the ramp funds that are scheduled for 2018. So one of those years you would be replacing something on the ramp depending on when you wanted to do it.
I got you.
I mean, that sounds much more efficient rather than dragging a project out over a number of years. If there was something where that swap could be made, that would be
I think
a
it's
better option.
a lot better suggestion to think of this as, the budget item at 450 is really the storm work offsite and onsite. The ramp piece takes place of a sixth of our ramp budget. And if we can get in lieu funds, just a quick question. Does our ordinance that we pass for in lieu fees cover leisure trails rather than
Yes.
sidewalk? Okay, so
Yep.
that's not a
Yep.
problem.
It's all it covers any pedestrian access.
So if you can get the in lieu fee, you can do it all at the same time. Or you could put the path off until you come back and
Or
maybe
2019.
put it together with some other projects or whatever. But I think the two first pieces, the storm and the pavement, really make sense to go together.
Agreed.
Me too.
Agreed.
I wouldn't want to be a homeowner there and have construction all throughout
Absolutely
18, 19, and then 20. I'm sure that.
That's exhausting.
I-
Can I ask real quick to the fee in lieu of funds? I mean, how do we know how much we have now And how many can, because I know there's been talk of using that for other important things as well.
Off the top of my head, I don't know what's in there. I know we anticipate receiving some good seed money for
I
it.
think we need to, and I'm not even sure whose realm that would fall under, but maybe look at the projects that have been, slated for those funds and see how they fall priority-wise.
Yeah, and looking at construction, the way stuff would fall, a leisure trail is less intrusive to residents than storm sewer 1 year, pavement the next, a reconstruction of pavement the next. I think it makes sense to try to get it all done at once. We said we were going to try to get it all done in 2018, and I would like to try to honor that commitment that we made to the residents there. And I think the next steps then is taking a look at this and including the items that we've talked about, coming up with a more firm cost estimate saying, hey, street committee, this is what it's going to cost. And I would anticipate we would take that and craft the 2018 CIP budget based on that approach.
Couple comments in there. One, I know we have at least 80,000 that has been approved for fee in lieu of, one from AEP and one from Carrington Ridge. I think there's a third one, but I do not remember the number on that. And then also, I was looking at, as I've become more familiar with our streets over the last year, we're looking at potentially making some changes from the proposed to 2018 ramp. One of those specifically is Headley's Mill. We got 450,000 in for Headley's Mill. As we've looked at that, we think there's a lot less full depth repair that we would need. So we'd be able to do surface repairs, which would be cheaper, and we can probably shave a good amount off of Headley's Mill, still do a chip seal over the whole thing, but be able to shave some of the full depth and surface repair off of that. That might help to fund this as well.
Sounds like a good plan.
Well, it does. I know there's plenty of other streets out there that are probably on the list that are dying to get attention. Okay, let's find. I guess my suggestion is we get a more comprehensive off of this 30% plan and this discussion. Come up with a better comprehensive game plan. Look at where we can put this path, the kind of things that we've talked about today, and see what our numbers, what maybe our final numbers will come out to, our final estimate will come out to.
Okay, so what I'm taking from that is basically the asphalt path is preferred for the sidewalk versus path. Does that sound likely? Okay, 'cause currently we haven't been doing any engineering other than just looking at the alternatives because we didn't want to waste time or money moving forward on something that wasn't what we were going to do. So I think at this point we're probably starting to move towards that. So go ahead and release to maybe go to 50%, get some of these things we've talked about in there, and hone down the cost estimate.
Yep, I would agree with that. Everybody agree with that?
I'm down. Yes, sir.
I think we need any motion or anything. Just, yep, that's what we do, Alan.
Okay.
All right. Thanks on that, Alan. Appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
All right, so 2017 plan. Is this a weather-related report?
Yeah, it's a weather-related report.
I figured that's what you were going to give us.
Yeah, they have, I talked to Shelley Company last week, and they were telling me the first or second week of August. I'm still waiting to hear back from them on more definitive details. They were supposed to have a meeting, I think, towards the end of last week to figure that out.
Is this still a 45-day process?
From start to finish, probably yes.
Do any of those streets affect the street fair?
Yes, they do, and they are well aware of that no work can
Okay.
be done during the street fair.
So we're not going to get any claim for delaying their projects or their process while they're not.
No.
Okay.
They're well aware that no work can occur on Township Road during the street fair.
And I believe the contract had like a 3-month, it was a 90-day contract. They just, they told us it was going to take 45 days. Obviously with the weather, that's,
Good you built it in.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else from that, Alan? Anything you want to bring up?
Two other things. One, the in-house, just we've got pretty much all of our in-house work done except for Foundation Park doing the repairs to the drive through there. One other thing I was, I guess, kind of seeking guidance on, and I got to be quick here. Gentleman at 388 Township Road, which is on the east side of Township, just south of the tracks. It's a duplex there on the east side of the road. The foundation elevation of the house is at least 5, if not 10 feet lower than the road, and he's complained about drainage issues. We've looked at some different alternatives to try and help that, but haven't found a good one, especially one that's not going to cost $15,000 or $20,000 to solve one person's problem. And the big problem is the house is lower than the road. So I didn't know if there was any specific guidance on that you guys would have a thought on whether we should pursue trying to do something as part of the ramp. From what we've seen, there's really not a whole lot that we can do. We looked at trying to put curb along there, but he's still going to have to have a driveway cut, and that's still the water's still going to go right across his driveway. So I wanted to throw that out there, see if there's much thought on it. I realize it's kind of short notice, and I didn't develop it well, but
Is there any storm in the area?
there is. Most of it runs across his property with no good outlet.
Parallel to the road?
Perpendicular to the road, parallel to the tracks, but it doesn't. The ditch would need developed through there along the tracks, which we could coordinate with the railroad to do that, but
Do you have any idea how deep that is?
not very. That's part of the problem.
The only thing I can think of is a grate, is a linear grate in front of his garage door that will gather and collect it and move it off, and that's really a private improvement.
That's kind of the way he has.
Now,
a great,
do we have any problem with him tying into the existing storm if that's what he wants to do?
I don't think the existing storm is deep enough. He would have to take it to the tracks, and we would probably need to provide a ditch somewhere along the tracks, which we could do that ourselves and separately if that's as simple as that. He has a drain in front of his garage, but
Now, another suggestion would be, I've seen some configurations at the front of a garage. It's the same thing. It has a track grate in front of his garage, and he puts a small sump pump in there and pumps it out.
okay. And I had looked at it more as a private issue. If we could do something during the project that wasn't very expensive that would help the problem out, I would.
You said there's a duplex, so are there two garages that are problematic?
Yes.
Are they both individually owned? Are they same person renting, or is?
Flex, the guy owns both of them. I don't know about the renting situation.
Okay.
I can't think of anything else that would possibly divert I know the houses you're talking about.
Yeah.
Definitely sits lower than the road, that's for sure, and his driveway sloped. I don't know how that is significantly different than any other place where that happens in the city.
I don't see there being any good fix to tie into the ramp that the city should fund.
There's a mill and fill, so we're not affecting the elevation of the roadway, so there isn't any claim on that.
We may affect the elevation of the road a little bit with some,
You're in a level.
just to level it out a little bit on Township Road.
I would make sure in that location you do not raise the road.
Well, originally we'd planned to do an overlay on that anyhow, so we were going to be raising the elevation of the road.
Is it a mill and fill, or is it just an overlay?
Overlay, just straight overlay.
I would look at that area
That
for a
would
mill
actually
and fill.
affect his drainage though, if we raised it.
And you're just looking at, it's just it's a liability issue.
Yeah.
My claim would be you raised the road, therefore I have drainage problems. I would just look into that.
Yeah, and we can talk offline
Yeah.
about it, certainly.
Okay, so, and that was it on the ramp.
I have one quick question. It's just a reminder that the mill and fill on Willow, the owner of the mobile home park that flooded called me and wanted, in the same vein, wanted me to make sure it was a mill and fill, so it's not going to be any higher, because any higher traps water in that mobile home park. And I thank you for taking my call on that, but just a reminder.
Happy to, and that is planned to be a mill and fill on Willow, and also the north, on Township north of the tracks. We're planning to do a mill and fill there too, because the profile is pretty decent.
Okay.
Moving on to Summit Ridge drainage improvements. I have not heard back from the residents in general on that. I did hear from one resident in that area, but it was related but not the same. I'm still waiting to hear back from them on if they're interested in doing the extension.
Alan, did you give them any kind of timeframes to get back with you?
I did not.
Would it make sense to reach out to them? Obviously, you've got a limited amount of time you can work in their yards, and probably haven't been able to work in their yards right now anyhow, but September is customary a dry month. If we're going to do anything, I would assume you want to do it then so you can get your seeding back in and done.
I honestly had not anticipated doing anything this year.
Okay.
With the work we have already slated.
Okay, I got it.
But I'd be happy to reach out to them and see if.
I would think a time frame would be a good idea to tell them,
Yeah, considering you're going to have to get buy-in from everybody that's going to tie into the main line.
We'll need buy-in, we'll have to get easements. I mean, there's a lot of coordination that has to happen, so we'll reach out and establish a time frame and say, this is drop dead date for us to really consider doing anything.
Can you refresh my memory quickly? Are we dealing with one individual that's dispersing the information, or a couple of individuals that are dispersing the information, or have we gone to a point where we've just contacted everybody who's we think is affected?
There are 4 residents specifically that I have talked to about, 3 that I've talked to specifically about this issue, one with a similar issue. Only one of them since we have talked, and he said he was going to talk to the other residents.
Okay, so somebody is coordinating with the other ones. Okay.
That's what I'm told.
Okay, we've got 7 minutes. Or,
Okay,
yeah.
we'll go quick here. The rest of them don't need too much. The Calmore subdivision drainage needs analysis. Put a copy of that on your desk there. You can review that. Basically, they gave us 2 alternatives. One was to go west behind some houses. It was a more expensive alternative in the $400,000 to $500,000 range. The second alternative was more or less what I had originally envisioned, which is just under $300,000 using plastic pipe and a structure, and that's with a 30% contingency on it. Jim Roberts did review that, so Job's reviewed that, and they thought it seemed pretty reasonable. The estimate does not include design, survey, or easements. That's just a construction cost estimate. Currently, we spent $11,600 on the study. In 2017, we budgeted $30,000 for engineering, so that leaves us $18,400 to potentially work with this year insofar as engineering, which I doubt that would cover the engineering for this project. I'm guessing it would be somewhere around 25 to 30 still. Questions on that one?
Not having read it.
We want to move on to Columbia Road Culvert then?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Please.
That one, we got the bids, bids were last week. Last week or the week before?
Week before.
Was the week before. The engineer's estimate was $225,000. All the bids were under that. The low bid actually came in at $179,000, which is Law General Excavating, and we've got a resolution on tonight's council agenda to approve that. They were recommended by Jobs for their bid was good, and they've worked with them before and have had success.
On that one, Alan, are you also going to be hiring somebody for inspection on that, or how's that going to happen with that?
Yes.
And that's included in that budget or not included in that budget number?
That is not included in that budget number, but we have that covered in other funds. And that was part of the supplemental we did that was reappropriating funds. We were able to cover the inspection on that.
Do you have any idea who's going to do that work?
For inspection?
Mm-hmm.
Prime. They're doing pretty much all of our inspection currently, and they've done a very good job.
Okay. Any questions on that? Nope. Okay, Taylor Road?
Taylor Road culvert replacement, Jaw Excavating, we did the resolution last council meeting for them to move forward with that. We're working out the agreement. They've got to make a tweak to it for their proposal. Aside from that, it's about 6 to 8 weeks out for the concrete pipe. So it's going to be, we were hoping to get them started sooner, but the concrete pipe being that much of a lead time, it's going to be a little while before they can start. Questions on that one?
Still happen this summer.
Still planning to be this summer. Well, late summer, early fall.
Right.
We're hoping to do it before school is in, but it doesn't look like we're going to be able to accomplish that.
What's your contractual, what's the length of work on this? Is that a 30-day?
30-day.
Ellen, does it close down anything or any?
Taylor Road will be closed right just south of the tracks. So we'll have the detour running across Cleveland.
Probably need to make sure the Licking High School District is aware of that, and maybe some notification to the parent or residents along Cleveland. Cleveland's already a rough travel.
Right.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. The retention, detention?
Retention, detention, the collection phase is complete. They've got all the mapping pretty well done. And now they are doing verification and mapping everything. And then also working on doing some research for a potential ordinance, as well as putting together the deficiency list. So it's coming along slowly but nicely.
The budget that was set up for that, do you have any idea where we are with that one?
It was $10,000 for engineering and $15,000 for implementing something this year. So we're good on the engineering side of that, and then it's just making a decision on what we want to move forward with to correct this year.
So the surveying is complete, the information is completed?
They've done all the research, found all the ponds. They believe they found them all, and they've mapped it out. Now they're going through and verifying that the ponds are there and making sure they've got them all. I guess I should say basins, not ponds.
Right. All righty. Any questions on that? We'll go to Mill Street.
Mill Street culvert replacement, wondering if we should hold off until next year to do that. Reasons being, we've got the Columbia Road culvert is going to be starting soon, so that'll have Columbia Road closed for a while. The Columbia Road Bridge, ODOT project, that one's going to be closing in the near future. They have not set up a pre-con for that yet, although I expect it to happen soon. And then this late in the year, wondering if we should just wait till next year before we move forward with that.
In looking at the culvert, you know, at what point do you say we should get it done now versus next year? I understand the orchestration or the scheduling of it, but really it's in my mind, it's a quality issue and does it need done now?
We wanted to do it this year. It's, you know, regular planned maintenance. There's nothing failing on it. It's, the pipe has been out of round. It's been out of round for as long as anybody knows. But the bottom is still there, and we've experienced no sinkholes or noticed any specific structural defects other than it being out of round. It might have been put in that way because there's very little cover on it.
No, I go over it every day. I imagine that's true. I'm fine with that. I see no harm in that. As a matter of fact, I know we've got other things that are more pressing than a out around culvert. So, I mean, I could see this being applied somewhere else initially, you know.
Maybe wait
Yeah.
further out.
I
than
mean, if it's not a
18.
structural issue, then I would certainly look at that one as being lower on my list. So,
I would agree with that.
as long as the pavement isn't, do we have to do any patching, anything that we need to do there?
I do not
Berm
believe so.
work, anything that, okay. Maybe take a good, quick look at that, and
Unless you've noticed something that I haven't.
I
out
will
there.
tomorrow. I'll look at that.
Thank you.
I'll go slower. All right. Anything else for the committee?
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Carter,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walther.
Yes.